I am so glad you convinced me that the family car should be the Defender 110. It is so beautiful inside, it's so comfortable, and it just feels indestructible.
Yes, it really is. I've been waiting a long time for the new model to come out. The Defender 110, I'm telling you, it's my favorite car of all times. It's my third one. You know, I have stories of going off road. The guy managed the group. He was like, "What are you doing in this beautiful car?" I'm like, "I'm going off road." He's like, "Are you sure? Because you can use one of ours." And then they look like Mad Max cars. I'm like, "No, no, 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 we're going to do this." And he was shocked.
Wow. Well, it's great because the Defender has been reimagined for 21st century adventure, and its unparalleled off-road ability as well as its robust interior are invaluable whether you're headed towards uncharted territory or just a weekend of exploration. The Defender 110 tackles challenging surroundings with absolute confidence. The SUV conveys strength outside and in, featuring peerless technology like an intuitive driver display and an award-winning infotainment system. That's my favorite part, to keep you connected no matter where the journey takes you. Adventure is unique to everyone, and so is the Defender. Choose from the two-door Defender 90, the four-door Defender 110, or the larger Defender 130 with the ability to seat up to 8 passengers. You'll find uncompromising performance in all three. So pack up and go even further with the Defender 110. Learn more at LandRoverUSA.com/Defender.
These days, we're all investors, trying to be smart with our money despite our worst impulses. But at iShares, we believe that deep down inside of every investor is a better investor. One that's just waiting to be let out. Explore iShares ETFs and insights and let your best investor out. Visit iShares.com for more information.
This isn't your average business podcast, and he's not your average host. This is the James Altucher Show.
So we all know that during the pandemic, 9 million people around the U.S., probably it's more now, but it's something like 8.93 million, I read, have moved out of their state. And when I say moved, it's not like a temporary move. It's a pack all your luggage, close down, sell your house or end your lease, rent a U-Haul and move. And how do I know this? There's two things. There's several sources of data. One is change of address requests at the post office. You could list them as temporary or permanent in most states. The other thing is U-Haul data, or in general, moving company data. But you've all read the articles. We know there's an exodus, particularly from urban to other areas. But where should you move? And in particular, you want to move to a place where real estate values have the most potential to go up and where real estate's cheap. So you basically want to, here's my wish list when I move. I want to have a better quality of life. I want to spend less money, and I want to make money. And I've got Robyn and Jay here to talk to me about where to move. Are you guys here?
Yes. James, when you say move, were you talking about just renting or buying or both?
All of it.
All of it. Okay.
All of it. And the thing is because, okay, Jay, let's talk about renting for a second.
Yes.
You're in New York City. Yes. How many square feet is your apartment? I always forget. It's like 700 square feet.
Yeah, 700 square feet, maybe less.
And how much is your rent?
$2,750.
$2,750. Now, and your job is remote. You know how I know your job is remote? Right now, you are doing this podcast 1,200 miles from me. And so it doesn't, you could be in Thailand right now spending $3 a day for your living and still be producing this podcast. So your job's remote. You're choosing to spend $2,700 a month rent for 700 square feet. And that's fine. Put a pin in those numbers for a second. But, the benefits of cities are what? Like great restaurants, you go to the ballet, there's more people, so maybe you can meet more people to date. I know, Jay, this is a top priority for you.
It is.
And
also, don't forget about Broadway. Everyone is bragging about Broadway show.
Yeah, Broadway, by the way, I hate Broadway. Like, it is so boring. Like, to see a bunch of people, dressed in like a lion costume, singing, like in the Lion King, or I don't know. All of Broadway is like Disney, and then the more I don't know. Whenever I go to a Broadway show, I'm usually taking my kids, or if I go to a more sophisticated Broadway show, it's all old people. Like young people don't go to Broadway, I don't think. Now, yes, people listening to this will disagree, and I respect that because everybody has their own personal taste and so on. I personally despise theater, and so, but if you love it, you love it. But I think younger people are less and less going to the theater, and
Right.
and also museums. When's the last time you went to the Hayden Planetarium, Jay? Other than when we did a podcast with Neil deGrasse
That's
Tyson.
the only time. That's the only time I went to the whatever planet museum. I can't even say.
What about the museum? What about the Museum of Modern Art? Don't you just like take an afternoon off and just stroll around and look at like the latest
MoMA?
modern art?
Like, what do I know about art? I just went there and just see, oh, there's 3 colors. This art is great. That's it.
Yeah, or it's like a big white canvas. We'll do another
Yeah.
podcast on
Oh my
art.
God.
Art, yes.
But the
I
whole
like
thing
the
is
museums.
here's several trends that happen. One is, well, first off, I want to address the big question. Everyone says, oh, you can't, real estate agents will say this, you can't think of your home as an investment. And I just want to say, shut the hell up when you say that to me, because you're only saying that, a real estate agent is only saying that because if you think of your home as an investment, most homes you probably wouldn't buy. So they would do less business and make less money. So that's the only reason people say, oh, you can't look at your home as an investment. It's the biggest chunk of money you will ever, for most people, it's the biggest chunk of money you will ever spend in your lifetime is buying a home. And you absolutely should think of it. You don't want to lose all that money. Like, let's say you buy a house that's $400,000 and you have to put $100,000 down. You don't want to lose that $100,000. Like, you've worked hard for it. You've saved up for years. Of course you have to think of it as an investment. Oh, I'm just going to give you $100,000. I could rent for $800 a month, but instead I just want to flush $100,000 down the toilet because I want to lose it. Of course you think of a home as an investment when you buy a home, which is the whole argument people say about rent, by the way. The same real estate agents that say you can't buy a home for an investment also say when you rent, you're flushing your money down the toilet. So get it straight. Are you flushing or are you buying your home as an investment? So I just wanted to address that. By the way, very interesting and scary. Huge investment firms like BlackRock or Blackstone, these are investment firms that control like $1 trillion. And Steve Schwartzman, who runs Blackstone, has been on the podcast. But these firms and other firms are buying during COVID, during this past year, they are buying hundreds of thousands of homes. And it's interesting. Why are these big real estate investment firms in general buying so many homes? And they're not buying like apartment buildings or commercial real estate. They're buying like just regular homes in suburbs. And actually, they're not buying big fancy homes. They're buying just regular homes, usually in poor neighborhoods. Why do you think they're doing that?
Are they trying to like rent it out? Or
Yeah, that's one reason they're trying to rent. What's another
They're
reason?
going to gentrify it, maybe.
I was about to say.
Well, yes, and here's the thing. It's kind of insidious. So in poor neighborhoods, the interest rates for a house, when you take out a mortgage, for people who live in like, let's say a lower income neighborhood, it's harder for them to get a mortgage. So mortgage rates are usually higher. Like maybe they're paying 4 or 5%. But Blackstone or BlackRock or any of these investment firms, they're paying more like 1.5% mortgage. Like in Robyn, we just bought a home. What's the mortgage rate we have? I think it's about 3.4%.
I think 3.1 maybe.
So we're kind of like that's probably like this national standard is around between 3 and 3.5 right now. In lower income neighborhoods, you're going to be paying like 4 or 5%. But Blackstone and BlackRock and all the private equity firms, they have special relationships with the banks because they borrow so many billions, tens of billions of dollars. So they get a deal. They pay on average 1.4% mortgage. So what happens is they go to these lower income neighborhoods where people have a hard time getting a mortgage. So that means the houses are priced cheaper because fewer people want them because the mortgage rates are higher. So they get houses cheap and less expensive mortgage rates. Now you think, well, they have so much money. Why are they getting a mortgage? Well, because they pay 1.4% interest, but then they'll rent it out and they'll make maybe 12 or 15%, per year on their money compared to spending 1.4% on their money.
Right.
So they borrow as much money as possible because investment firms always borrow to buy real estate.
think
That's
they're
the smart
hedging.
thing to do.
They're hedging for the inflation.
They're not even really doing that. If you can borrow for 1.54%, but rent at like 15% per year, they're making 15% per year. Like if you spend $500,000, I'm just making that up. If you spend $500,000 for a house, a small house, and you rent it out for a few $1,000s a month, you're going to make like a huge yield compared to what your mortgage rates will be.
Right.
And particularly, since you're borrowing, you had to put very little down. So let's say they buy a $500,000 house and they put down $100,000. So now, and then let's say they charge rent of just $1,000 a month. They're making 12% on their $100,000 that they invested, and they're paying back to the bank 1.4% per year. So you see that's the math. They don't even have to go where real estate values go up.
Right.
But by the way, you know why real estate values will go up? It's because they're buying all the homes. So they're reducing the supply. They're never selling. They're reducing the supply. And what happens when demand even stays the same and supply goes down?
Wait, so you're telling me in some other city the rents go up? It's not because people are moving there, but at the same time, because of all these big firms are buying the houses over there.
Yeah, and by the way, they're not buying in New York City. They're buying small homes in lower income areas. They're buying like in Idaho. They're buying in North Carolina, South Carolina, Arizona. We'll talk about those in a second. So absolutely, real estate is an investment, and it's a little scary that these big firms, in my opinion, it's a little scary that these big firms are buying up. Essentially, I think they own now about 15% of the nation's homes.
Wait, I'm just curious. Is there like a limit how much they can own, or there's no law about it?
No, there's no law about it.
Oh, wow.
I sort of feel like, and this is going to segue for 1 second into crypto. I don't mean to talk about crypto, but I sort of feel like where this is like the prequel to The Matrix. Like The Matrix never had a prequel, but I just imagine it's like somehow or other everybody, the big firms are buying up all the homes. Ownership is gonna go away. Nobody's gonna own a home. Everyone's gonna rent. No one's gonna own a car. Everyone's gonna lease or use self-driving automated cars. And then people are gonna say, "Don't worry about it. Just put on these goggles, and you're gonna go into the metaverse. So you're not gonna own." And you're not going to live in the real world anymore. You're going to live in this imaginary world. And everybody's going to say, we'll take care of everything. Hey, by the way, we figured out how to use like human energy. So we're just going to plug you into like a battery so we could store your energy while you're in the metaverse. And then that's how you get the Matrix, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And they just have to choose between blue pill and red pill.
Yeah. I would choose the blue pill, by the way. The Matrix actual world looks pretty disgusting. I would stay in the fake world.
I thought the red pill is the fake world.
No, the red pill is the real world.
Real world.
Yeah, I would stay in the fake world.
Oh.
But I sort of feel, the real world kind of sucks already, but like the Matrix real world, that's pathetic. Like who wants to live in that? There's only like 6 human beings. So I'd rather stay in the fake world. But I sort of feel we're moving towards that. At Davos, which is the big conference of all the billionaires, they even said, hey, we're moving to in 2030, no one will own, this is a quote, no one will own everything, no one will own anything, and everyone will be happy. That's the world that they're planning for. But okay, where should you move? So
yes,
first
tell
off,
me.
Where are people leaving? And we'll show charts in the video, but I'll describe it for the podcast. So there's a lot of data. The states that people are leaving are California, Illinois, New York. Those are the top 3 states. I'm not insulting those states. Don't get offended if you live in those states. Everyone gets like, no, people don't know what they're doing if they leave California. It doesn't matter what you think. This is the data. Since the coronavirus, between those 3 states, well over 1 million people have permanently left. Now, will they move back? Hopefully, maybe, probably some of them will. But what we're seeing also is, as I wrote in August of 2020, people are happy working remote. And companies, by the way, are happy with remote workers because they get to lease less office space and spend less money. So in New York City, and I'm quoting an article from the New York Post right now. Let me find it. Where is it? Okay. Remote job postings for New York City firms quadruple. So it went from 6% to 25%.
Wow.
And I use New York as an example, but that's happening in San Francisco. That's happening in LA because companies could save a lot of money. And it's reasonable. And then, over 50% of workers say they're more productive working remote. So there's no issues. And bandwidth is there, so you could have Zoom meetings. And yeah, there's Zoom fatigue. But you know what there's real fatigue of? Commuting. Like driving a car in the snow for an hour so you could get to work. You know what there's a real fatigue of? Is going to a conference room with your boss and having him yell at you. Like I used to yell at Jay when we were in person all the time.
It could be done with an email with a lot of exclamation point.
Exactly. That's a
email
much
with an
more
exclamation
effective
point.
way to yell. That's
All
the
the
way.
caps lock.
That's the way I yell at Robyn, only because I'm afraid to yell at her in person.
Yes. Exclamation point and cap blocks. That's all you need.
How could you have made the chicken with cheese in it last night? You know I ate cheese.
Chicken cordon bleu, it sounds great, by the way.
Yeah.
Is that what chicken with cheese?
Yeah.
I don't even know.
That's the only chicken dish I know.
He doesn't know it because he doesn't eat it.
Yeah.
So those are the 3 states people are most moving from. And here's the thing, they're bringing their money with them. So you make more money in New York, California, and Illinois. And so you go to a place like, okay, so here's the states. I'm going to list the states that people are moving to the most. So it's Texas, Arizona, Florida, Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia. Those are the top states people are moving to. And now I've seen a bunch of different lists, but it's usually those states in some order or other, with Texas, Florida, Arizona kind of first, and then North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, and so on.
Utah.
Yeah, Salt Lake City, a lot of people from California are moving there. So why are they moving to these places? Well, for one thing, taxes are cheaper. Like New York City, as an example, and I mentioned New York City just because I'm from there, and I grew up there, I lived there all my life, and I know it best. But this applies to all these cities. New York City is an expensive place to not only live, but to maintain. In order to support New York City has to hire sanitation workers, police workers, healthcare workers. They have to support hospitals. There are public schools in New York. So the 2022 budget for New York is $102 billion. And where do they get that money? They get that money from taxes. So New York City, out of every city in the United States, New York City is the most expensive place to live when you factor in city taxes, state taxes, and federal taxes. I don't know the final numbers, something like 70%. It's like a 69% tax rate ultimately. 50 Cent, the great economist 50 Cent, put it best when he said, I work for free until October, and then I pocket my money. Like, I give all of my money to the government until October when I live in New York City. And by the way, I say New York, but San Francisco and Los Angeles, and Chicago, these cities all have the same issue because it's hard to run a city. It's expensive. And New York City, the services are so great. It's a great city. These cities are great, but they're expensive to run. And, and then they have to build new, they have to maintain their bridges and their tunnels and all these sorts of things. So
now they want to extend the island.
Oh yeah, I just read about that. Yeah.
Yeah, now they want to extend the
I
island.
think that's going to be hard because other people live where they want to extend. It's never good when you say, "Hey, give me your land." That's kind of what we did to the Native Americans,
No,
and it didn't work out too well.
I think they want to extend it to the river. So they want to extend out. They want to build like a fake land on top of it.
Yeah, maybe. So that's what they did for the World Trade Center. They dug up.
It was a land.
No, sorry. That's what they did for Battery Park City.
Right.
They dug up land. When they made the World Trade Center, they dug up so much dirt, they put it next to the World Trade Center, and they created Battery Park City, which is kind of like an area within New York City. And consequently, it's expensive. Property taxes are expensive, which means apartment prices and homes are expensive. I mean, the most expensive places to rent are San Francisco, New York, Boston, San Jose, LA. But here's the thing, and this is the scary thing, because of the people moving in San Francisco, in the past 1 year, and this is as of today, in the past 1 year, rental prices are down 24%. In New York, rental prices are down 19.7% on a 1-bedroom. On a 2-bedroom, in New York, prices are down 22% from a year ago. So it's about the same. San Francisco is down 22% as well. I actually don't see Chicago. I actually don't see on this list. Now, so that's reasons why people are moving. Now, why are they moving to places like Texas or Florida? Well, those places stand out because there's no state taxes. There's 0 state taxes. That's the first thing. And let me see where I have a chart here also. I have many charts. I have a chart here also of wait, Robyn, why are you in here? Oh, your computer
Robyn's
died? You
battery's
couldn't
died,
plug it
yeah.
in? Oh, Robyn, that's the whole point, was to have you on the podcast. So Texas, Florida, Nevada, Wyoming, South Dakota have no state taxes. Georgia, the state income tax is 6%. North Carolina is about 5%. Mississippi, it's about 5%. And by the way, nobody wants to move to South Dakota anyway. It's too cold there, and there's nobody there. Now, maybe
Wait.
if you watch the Netflix show Yellowstone, which is excellent, you might want to move to Montana. But guess what? They have a 7% state income tax, so maybe not. And it's really cold there. That's the
And
other
also
thing.
they have bad internet.
They have bad internet there too. But the guys in Yellowstone, I've never seen one of them use the internet. So not one single person in the TV show Yellowstone I have ever seen surfing the web. So
Yep.
and then the other thing is it's just nicer weather. And people say, "Oh my gosh, it's so hot in Texas, it's so hot in Florida." Guess what? It's hot in New York City also because the air conditioning doesn't work in those old pre-war buildings, and the heat is kind of concentrated between the buildings on the ground. So
Yeah.
New York City is, and also it's very hard. You don't drive anywhere in New York City. You have to walk places. So you're outside walking in night. If it's 100 degrees and I'm in Texas, I'm just going to walk from my house to my car and drive. And the air conditioning works in a lot of these states, as opposed to New York or San Francisco, where there's older buildings. So, okay, that's just my opinion about, some people pretend to like blizzards and tsunamis and stuff like that, but it's better to live in a place. Oh, well, and to be fair, Florida has hurricanes,
Right.
and stuff like that. But
I mean, snow and stuff are pretty until you live in it.
yeah, snow is like when I was a kid and I lived for a while in the suburbs of New York City, and snow was great. You'd get a day off of school, you'd have snowball fights with your friends. But if you're like working in a city, it's just sludge and mud, and you have to get through it and at 7 a.m. to get to work. Are you
And you
telling
have
me
to
they
shovel them.
Yeah, and you have to. Well, you don't have to shovel so much in New York City. In suburbs, you have to shovel. But
Right.
are you telling me people prefer like walking in the grimy sludge and snow while it's hailing on you instead of having oh, I don't want to get Zoom fatigue. Really? Like, oh, I don't want to get blizzard fatigue because you still have to go to work.
Right,
We
right,
had
right.
school days off. You don't have work days off when there's a blizzard. Everyone goes to work. So
Yeah.
I'm remote working. But
I'm remote working too.
oh my gosh, I love these clothes. Mizzen and Main. That's Mizzen and Main. It really is the most comfortable work clothes. Travel clothes. I had to travel this whole week. I'm traveling for a week and a half, and I just took Mizzen and Main clothes with me. Close out 2023 in style with comfortable, breathable, packable, and machine washable pieces from Mizzen and Main. As you wrap up your year-end goals, enjoy a Mizzen and Main dress shirt that you can wear confidently. I like that they've very, very just nice, solid colors. I don't really like to get all fancy in patterns and everything, although they do have some pattern shirts, but very comfortable clothes, stretchable pants. It's just super comfortable, but they look professional, and you can wear them casually or professionally. I like some of their flannel shirts or untuck shirts. I love untuck. I never tuck in. So again, whether you're shopping for a special someone or giving yourself the gift you really want, I just buy myself gifts. Mizzen and Main is the perfect gift for any guy who works, travels, and or cares about looking and feeling great. As you could tell by my many photos across the internet, I care about looking, fantastic. I'm practically a model. And let's be honest, every guy loves to look great. So again, shop now at mizzenandmain.com and save 20% when you spend $130 or more using promo code James. That's promo code James at Mizzen and Main, Mizzen and Main.com. You know what I love about fantasy sports is that even though I'm not going to be a great basketball player or a baseball player or a football player or whatever, I feel like I get to participate and make decisions and use my knowledge of these different leagues or these different sports to compete. So it's like I can pick my team or I can pick my favorite players and I could use my knowledge to make predictions and maybe even make money. So with the basketball season here, you can now pick combo projections across football and basketball from the Specials League on Prize Picks. This is a league created specifically for combo projections that include two or more players from different sports or leagues. Want to play alongside some of Prize Picks' favorite players like rapper Meek Mill and comedian Andrew Schultz, who's also been a guest on this podcast, and I've been a guest on his? You can now find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries for some of the biggest names in the Prize Picks community each week. Look, Prize Picks even offers a reboot policy so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For football and basketball games, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player is rebooted. Prize Picks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. What? So I love playing it. I love anywhere where I can use analytical ability with my interests to demonstrate some skill and maybe make some money. And I like the game-like aspect. I do wish they had chess as a category on prizepicks.com, but I'll settle for what they've got. Maybe I should make my own fantasy chess league. But in any case, I love Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/James. Use code James for a first deposit match up to $100. That's the easiest $100 you're ever going to make. So that's prizepicks.com/James and use code James. Daily fantasy sports made easy. The future of learning is definitely online. Like, it's such BS that you have to spend $200,000 or take $200,000 in loans and go to some fancy school when it's useless. It doesn't guarantee you a job. Most employers, including me, do not care about degrees or grades or anything like that. We want to care that you love what you're doing, that you know what you're doing, in some cases that you have experience or that you're willing to learn. But people in general love learning and are curious. Like, the key to success is curiosity. And I think masterclass.com is the perfect model for online learning. I'm really happy they're sponsoring this episode. If you're going to give a gift, give the gift of learning. Masterclass makes a meaningful gift this season for you and anyone on your list, because both of you can learn from the best to become your best, from leadership to effective communication to cooking. Let me tell you some of the classes I've taken. I've taken comedy from Steve Martin. I mean, can you believe I can take a class from Steve Martin on comedy, or Judd Apatow, my favorite comedy director? I could take an actual class from him on writing. Wolfgang Puck on cooking. Dan Brown on writing, or Judy Bloom, who's been on this podcast, on writing. By the way, Wolfgang Puck also has been on this podcast. It's such a pleasure. I try to take classes all the time from masterclass.com. And whether you're watching Masterclass on TV or listening in audio mode in the app or on their site, the quality speaks for itself. It's like these Masterclass instructors are your own personal mentors that are going to help you reach the next level. How much would it cost to take one-on-one classes on comedy from Steve Martin or on chess from Gary Kasparov? You just wouldn't be able to do it. But it would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. With a Masterclass annual membership, it's $10 a month. Memberships start at $120 a year for unlimited access to one-on-one classes with all 180 plus Masterclass instructors. So it's not just $120 for one instructor. You get all 180 plus Masterclass instructors. boost your confidence, and find practical takeaways you can apply to your life and at work. And if you own a business or are a team leader, use Masterclass to empower and create future-ready employees and leaders. That's the real education in today's world. So this holiday season, you can give one annual membership and get one free at masterclass.com/JAS. JAS, of course, stands for the James Altucher Show. So right now you can get 2 memberships for the price of one at masterclass.com/JAS. Masterclass.com/JAS. Offer terms apply. So the question is, though, for me, it was really important, like, not just to say, oh, everyone's moving to Florida, so let's move to Florida. Everyone's moving to Texas. Florida real estate and Texas real estate, I feel like Florida and Texas were the first states to get the people from New York and California and Illinois. And so real estate, because New York incomes and LA incomes are so much higher, real estate are exploded. And the price, like in Miami, I feel like month over month, prices were going up 20%. Like year over year, they were easily doubling in 2021.
Are they still going up right now?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I don't know about this month, but the last I heard that Miami was still going up. Everybody keeps saying it's crazy. Wow. It's crazy. So what should you do to find a place? First off, and by the way, we want, again, what do we want? We want quality of life to improve. We want cost of life to go down, and we want to have a good investment value. So my opinion, I feel Florida and Texas don't necessarily have the best investment value now because prices have already gone up. Now, maybe northern Florida is like southern Florida where Miami is, that's really where prices went up. And I think in Texas, like near Austin, near Dallas, that's where prices went up. So you might be able to now find suburbs or go to northern Florida. Like, Tucker was on the podcast the other day, and he said he was looking at properties 60 miles outside of Austin. So, if you want to do that, that could be where you get cheaper. But it's amazing to me how different the prices are. Let's just pick randomly, and I'll pick randomly because I looked in these places. But let's compare New York and like Atlanta, or if there's another city you want to compare, Jay. You tell me.
Just Atlanta. I want Atlanta.
All right.
Atlanta is where they shoot Spider-Man. I want to
really
make sure I get to see Tom Holland. Yeah, Atlanta is where they shoot Spider-Man.
All right, so let's see Atlanta. So right now you're paying
$27.50.
You're paying in rent. Well, actually, let's look at ownership. So what do you think your apartment would sell for?
Okay, so in the same level of my apartment right now that got sold last year, it got sold for $800,000 to $900,000.
$800,000, and it was the same size apartment.
Same size apartment, no bigger than 750 square feet.
Oh my God! So let's just say the lower end because I don't want to be too extreme here.
Right.
So $800,000 for a 700 square foot apartment. Basically, your apartment could fit a bathtub and a sink and maybe like a twin bed. And
a New York style stove.
Right, a New York style stove, which means it's like a little lighter that you put a plate over.
Yes.
And then you turn your lighter on. And by the way, you have a big dog. Like,
yeah, I have a 100-pound dog.
Oh my gosh.
So basically, I can't move anywhere. He sleep on the couch and just done.
All right, so I'll look at like, let's say someplace that's like maybe right outside of Atlanta, just to compare. So
right.
okay,
I mean, I think you can compare to Atlanta. I remember looking at Atlanta.
Well, let's see. I'll look at 800K prices. Oh, I can't even find 800K. Hold on.
Oh, wait.
Let's see. All right. Yeah, it's really hard. I'm looking at a suburb that's just 20 minutes outside of Atlanta. The most expensive places are like $500,000. So I'll just tell you, okay, for $500,000, here's what you can get: 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath, and 2,800 square feet. That's exactly $500,000. And so it's $300,000 cheaper than your shit little studio that's 700 square feet, and it's it's 4 times as big. It's 2,800 square feet, and you have 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths. Here's one: $420,000, 3-bedroom, 3.5 baths, 2,200 square feet. Oh my gosh,
a house?
Jay, here's $243,000, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,000 square feet. Oh, but that's a foreclosure, so don't get that.
What does that mean?
It means that someone stopped paying their mortgage and they were kicked out, which means they might leave the house a mess. So that's why it's
Oh,
cheaper.
that mean so it's like a motor house.
Okay, here's the most expensive house I can find. 589,000, 6-bedroom, 3-bath, 3,120 square feet. Oh my gosh.
Where is it at? Is it in Atlanta or is it outside Atlanta?
It's like 20 minutes outside of Atlanta. I'll look.
Okay.
Okay, all right. You're particular for a city.
I mean, if I'm moving I do want to have a culture shock. When I move from a city, I have to be in the city first, settle down.
Okay,
then
but
I
a lot
move
of
to
cities are
suburbs.
not like New York City. You know,
I know.
they're in Atlanta, but they might parts of Atlanta. This is true for like a lot of kind of second tier cities. Is that some parts of it are not very urban, even though it's still considered part of Atlanta. So here I'm looking now at Atlanta, 479,000. It's 5-bedroom, 4-bath, 4,000 square feet, and the address is in Atlanta, Georgia.
Jesus.
Okay, but
400,000.
okay. No, but to be fair, let's here's 875,000. So this is like comparable to
Right.
actually, yeah. So this is 900,000. So it's comparable to that apartment that's a 750 square feet on your floor. It's 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,650 square feet. So it's again about 4 times bigger, and it's an 8,000 square foot lot. So I don't know. That's like a fourth of an acre or something.
What?
And
It has a yard too, I think.
man, I can't even find expensive places. Let me see. What if I go up to $1 million? Can I find a place that's $1 million? There's no place. Okay, I'm gonna sort by the highest price. Okay, so here's what you could get for 900,000. Like, here's 4,800 square feet. 4,800 square feet. 5-bedroom, 4-bath for 900,000 in Atlanta.
Oh my god.
Jay, so by the way, I'm using the ownership, but the rent then is probably the same as your rent. So I don't know.
I think it's cheaper.
All right, well, okay, I will look at rentals, and we could look at other cities if you want, but
No, Atlanta for now. I just want to see Tom Holland and Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire.
and don't forget we'll talk about this later, but a lot of tech companies are moving. You also want to look. What I like to look for in a city or an area is, are tech companies moving there? Because as tech goes, so goes real estate. Like that's why San Francisco real estate is so high. So how can I find rentals? Let me see.
I just see one 2,600, 2-bed, 2-bath. It's 1,200 square feet.
All right, well, right there, that's pretty good. But my feeling is you're not even totally looking at it right. Just because,
it's right by Atlanta Botanical Garden.
okay, rental homes in Atlanta. Okay, I'm looking at. Let's see. It's hard to find because there's like ranges. Okay, yeah, 2,400 a month, which is less than you pay. 1,200 square feet. Okay, it's only almost double your size. Let's find something a little better. I want to find a great place for better. As ownership, like some towns are like, oh, this is nice. This is really pretty, this one, but I don't know how to describe it. It's 2,800 a month, 1,200 square feet. Oh, here's one. It's like, I guess apartments. It looks like a huge house. It doesn't look like, but it looks huge. Like there's a lot of apartments there. So it's 2,300 a month, 1,300 square feet. There's a pool. There's other things. So, and you're right in the middle of the city. So yeah, it seems like owning is a little bit of a better deal than renting, but it just goes to show you, by the way, everything's cheaper. So meals are cheaper, Uber's cheaper, the apartments are cheaper.
Can I tell them how much I paid for when I was in Georgia for an hour ride Uber?
How much?
On SUV?
I don't even know.
$60.
$16 for an hour ride?
60.
What's it in New York, would you say?
120.
Yeah, so yeah, it's like half the price of things. Here now I'm looking at Asheville, North Carolina. For $2,700 a month, you can get 1,800 square feet and a 3-bedroom.
Right.
So in Asheville, North Carolina, I mentioned that because that's a big city that people are moving to. Or it's not a big city, but a lot of people are moving to it.
Right.
Now, but also, okay, Texas, you want to look for places where tech is moving. So Texas has, Tesla's moving there, Google's building big offices there, Amazon's building a big warehouse there. In Atlanta, Airbnb is moving their eastern headquarters there. So you want to look for places where tech is moving. Uh, let's see. What else? What else? Well, anyway, so by the way, Jay, I don't know if you remember, we did a podcast with Dean Graziosi about a year ago,
Yes.
and maybe a little more than a year ago, 2 years ago.
2 years ago,
He
yep.
talked about how you should buy a cheap house, and he used 3 Ds. He said the 3 Ds: death, divorce, debt. So you can go to your local county clerk, you can see all the divorces that just filed, and my guess is, and this is data that I've seen, is 60% of divorces, they end up listing their homes. So if you want, and they'll sell cheap because they have to sell, they have to divide up their assets quickly. So and this is what Dean said. He's in the business of buying apartments and renting them out, and buying homes and renting them out. That's his business. So he looks for deaths. You could see, there's lots of data on that. Debt, you could look for tax liens that have been filed in the state, and you could look up the house and see if it's being listed. And divorce, you can go to your county clerk, see what divorces were just filed, and see if the houses are being listed. And if you make an offer, you'll probably get a really good deal. So it's a good way to buy something even cheaper, maybe as soon as it gets on the market. And the other thing I just want to recommend is that, let's say you don't want to buy a home, but let's say you're in New York City, you love it, you don't want to leave, or you're in San Francisco, for whatever reason, Google's requiring you to go to work, you don't want to leave. You can buy REITs, real estate investment trusts. They trade on the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ. So I've picked out a couple of REITs that are interesting to me. Let me find them. So here's one: Blue Rock Residential Growth, BRG. They specialize in investing in residential communities. And right now, their current portfolio consists of 59 apartment buildings or complexes in Texas, Florida, Georgia, Arizona, Alabama, Tennessee, South Carolina, and North Carolina. In other words, the exact places expected to benefit over the next few years from the exodus happening from these major cities. So that's BRG, Blue Rock Residential Growth. I have another one that I thought was interesting: Plymouth Industrial REIT, PLYM. And what they do is they buy warehouses in second-tier cities. So largely the South, but other smaller cities. And since people are moving to these places, there's more need for warehouse storage. So I think this is an interesting one. And let me see what the dividend is on that one. It's 3%. Not that great, but still get a dividend. And I think the benefits of this REIT moving up are probably pretty good considering what they're doing. So that's where you should move. One more thing, by the way, is if you're buying a place as purely an investment property, like you want to rent it out, think of it like a stock. So stocks, usually people calculate they look at the price and they look at the earnings. And if the price divided by the earnings, the so-called PE ratio, is more than 20, maybe it's too expensive. And if it's below 20, maybe it's a value stock. So you could do the same thing with houses. If the amount you pay for the house, if the price of the house is less than 20 times the amount of rent you can collect in a year, then usually that's a cheap house and you want to buy it. Or you want to sell houses when the amount the house is worth is more than 20 times the amount of rent you could collect in a year. So it works just like a PE ratio. And you can use the same metrics to buy and sell a house. So again, just to summarize, we looked at, is a house an investment or a home? It's both, but definitely think of it as an investment, because for sure, the biggest investment firms in the world are looking at your home as an investment and will crowd you out if you let them. Where are people leaving from? Why are they leaving? And where are they going? And we looked at the taxes for each state. That's a factor. Also, we looked at remote jobs data. We talked about, the differences that where Jay should live compared to his rat hole of an apartment in New York. What houses Jay could live in, like practically for Jay, it will be a mansion. I'm almost scared you'll get lost in a 2,700 square foot house because you're just gonna live in the closet because you think that's the studio.
Yeah, because when you live in somewhere for so long, you have no idea what to do with the big spaces.
What's it called when it's a prisoner? The prisoners get used to being prisoners. So there's a cognitive bias for that. So it's like you're used to being like kept in your little tiny.
Right.
You know, I saw an article the other day. Someone's living in San Francisco. Someone has a 95 square foot apartment that he pays
Shit.
like $500 a month for.
Yeah, the other day, there was some article about this guy in New York living in like 100 square feet. Apartment.
I saw that one, and then I googled for the same thing in San Francisco. So, and then we talked about how to find a good value. How do you look for big tech moving there? Look for evidence that the money from New York, Illinois, LA is moving there. Look at comparables. Obviously, look at recent sales data. How much are people paying for per square foot? And then how to find a good deal. Death, divorce, debt. Maybe there's some people are downsizing, like baby boomers are downsizing, but I don't know how you find data on that. And, the final thing is people say, oh, don't bring your politics here. You know what? Screw them. Bring your politics wherever you want. And if you don't like living there because everybody is arguing with you, then you'll move again. Like if everyone hates you because they don't like your politics, then don't move there. But try to be a little bit more balanced maybe and not be so polarized. And you'll probably have happier neighbors, and you'll probably be a happier neighbor. And worst case is, if you don't want to own a home, there are REITs that are good investments specifically for these regions where people are moving to. So we're going to post this podcast also on YouTube with all the relevant data. Share it with your friends. Subscribe to me on YouTube at James Altucher. Subscribe to the James Altucher Show. Jay, let's put together this video and get all the data and stuff like that. And thanks very much, Robyn and Jay. Robyn's computer, the power went out. Robyn, if you're going to participate in this podcast, you got to charge your computer. So
She need a new
podcasts require
computer.
computers.
Yes, she need a new computer.
You got a house, now get a computer. So you forced me to buy a house against my will, now get a computer. So I'll force you to get a computer against your will. So, all right, Jay, thanks very much. And if you like this kind of podcast where it's a little bit more educational, please tweet out that you like it so I know and I get some feedback, and I really appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Entresto, sacubitril valsartan tablets, is the #1 heart failure brand prescribed by cardiologists and has helped over 1 million people with heart failure. It's a prescription medicine that treats adults with long-lasting chronic heart failure and works better when the heart cannot pump a normal amount of blood to the body.
Don't take Entresto if pregnant. It can cause harm or death to an unborn baby. Don't take Entresto with an ACE inhibitor or aliskiren, or if you've had angioedema with an ACE or ARB. Don't take with aliskiren or within 36 hours of taking an ACE inhibitor. The most serious side effects are angioedema, low blood pressure, kidney problems, or high blood potassium. Angioedema is swelling of your face, lips, tongue, and throat that may cause death. If it causes difficulty breathing, get emergency help.
Ask your doctor about Entresto. To learn more, visit support.entresto.com or call 833-446-6699. For pricing, visit Entresto.com/cost. If you can't afford your medication, Novartis may be able to help.